Last fall, I set out to find a replacement donor engine for my 55 Chevy Bel Air project, and I scored one in Nashville for $400 on Marketplace. It's a 235 Inline-6 that came out of a 61 Apache pickup truck. Now the guy I bought it from said that it had recently been rebuilt, but we all know how that goes. So I got it all the way home, unloaded it, and started kind of playing around with it. For the most part, it seemed like it was legit. It even had a 4-speed SM420 transmission, and the valve train was really clean. But I was still somewhat skeptical, so I decided to dig a little deeper. Now at this time, I had recently had distal bicep surgery, so in theory, I shouldn't have even been working on a car at all. But I was being a little naive and hard-headed and decided to press on. And what actually ended up happening is I almost re-injured my bicep. And that scared me a little bit, so I decided to shelf this project till later. And so now, here we are. Several months later, and my arm is completely healed up. I feel like $1 million. You can kind of see the scar right there from my surgery. I've been doing a little bit of work on the car itself. If you want to check it out on my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube shorts. Basically, I pulled the entire front and rear suspension out of this thing because it was all completely toast. Like the brakes, the bushings, the shocks, everything was just... Neighbor dog. Everything was just completely shot. But yeah, everything on the suspension was just completely shot, so it's going to have to be completely replaced. I went ahead and also wire wheeled the entire engine bay, scrubbed it nice and clean, then I sprayed a little bit of black rattle can on it, just spruced it up a little bit. It looks a whole lot better if you ask me. And now I've got the engine sitting on a makeshift engine hoist, just kind of chilling right there. I want to try and see if we can get this thing to fire. I went ahead and hooked up a battery to the starter just to kind of see what it would do, and it just seemed really sluggish, I guess you could say. It just kind of went so I pulled the starter off, set it on the bench here, and did a bench test on it, and same thing, just really sluggish. So technically you could just buy one of these. I think they run about $100-150, but I think it's gonna be worth the time to just pull this thing apart, clean it up with some electric clean, and see if we can get to work properly. All right, let's dig in. Oh yeah. Pretty slimy. See, this thing is really nasty. But looks like the teeth are in pretty good shape. Woo-hoo-hoo. Man, she is. Yep. That's a lot of nastiness. Let's see if we can clean that up just a little bit. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, though. She's definitely well used, but I think we can get her to work. Even just for a test fire on the engine. Let's take a look inside the housing. Ooh, yeah. Man, it stinks too. That's significantly better than what it was. Check the insides of our solenoid real quick. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that might be part of our problem. You can see that is a lot of corrosion on the inside of that. There's a lot on the inside of that too. Well, as much as I hate to say it, I think it's going to be in my best interest to just go ahead and order a whole new starter. I mean, I probably could clean this up some more, but time is of the essence, so I'll be right back. Well, that was a bit of an endeavor. So it turns out that these starter assemblies for these old six-bangers are kind of hard to come by. Went to almost every auto parts store in town, and as soon as somebody could give me one, it was like 4 days. But I was able to get us a new solenoid next day air, so we're just gonna roll with that for now. Get rid of this hunk of junk. And the old spring. Let's get this bad boy back together. Alright, got the new solenoid put on. Do another quick bench test here. Also picked up some new battery cables. Clean this up a little bit so we got a good ground. Perfect. Alright, let's fire this dude off and see what happens. Oh yeah. Perfect. We have ourselves a working starter. Oh yeah, she's good. Heck yeah. Go ahead and slap this thing back on the engine. See if we can get it to fire. Perfect. All right, so we got the starter put back on the engine along with the new solenoid. We're just about ready to test fire this thing, but I want to run you guys through a checklist of stuff that I've done off camera to make sure that this thing is ready to rock and roll. Now, when I first bought it, the distributor was actually just hanging out of it, so I pulled it back out, spun the engine over to top dead center, checked all the spark plugs, they seem good. Then I set the distributor back in, made sure the oil pump was spun correctly to where the rotor is sitting on the #1 cylinder. And so I think as far as timing goes, we should be good to go. So really all that's left to do is hook up all the plug wires along with the ignition coil, attach the distributor wire to the ignition coil on the negative terminal, then we'll hook a battery up to the starter, as well as ground the battery to the block. We'll dump a little gas down the float bowl, see if this bastard runs. All right, got everything hooked up, ready to rock and roll. All I need to do is attach the battery cable to the positive side of the battery, dump some fuel down the float bowl. Let's see what happens. Gasoline. Breakfast of champions. Doesn't appear to be leaking anywhere out of the carburetor so far, so that's good. All right, that should be enough, I would think. All right, going hot. Here we go. See you on the other side. Oh, she's turning. Do a little magic spray. Whew. Well, the good news is when it comes to diagnosing these old engines, it's either air, fuel, or spark. So, suppose let's see if we got spark. Okay, we're getting spark. Double check all the plug wires here. Let's try her one more again. Whew. That one sounded more promising. Had a little bit more kick to it. Coil's getting hot. Take that off the battery for a minute. This bastard should run. Jeez. All right, so I double checked the timing. I pulled the #1 spark plug again, cranked it over a couple times, put my finger down it, felt it blow out, and it was still, rotor still sitting at #1. So it seems to be firing correctly, so I think we have a fuel delivery problem. Let's take a look at the carburetor. That sounds like it's squirting. Let's just try it again. Dang, still nothing. So I pulled the carburetor and this is what I found. I don't know if you can see down in there. But yeah, that's just a big lake of fuel, so something may be wrong with our accelerator pump or float valve inside the carburetor. So what I'm gonna do now is see if I can just dry all this out, and then we'll shoot some starting fluid down the intake without the carburetor. See if that works. All right, so I got the intake completely dried out. I also went ahead and pulled every single spark plug just to see if they were foul, and a couple of them were a little wet, but not too bad, but figured why not. So I pulled them all out, cleaned them up, dried them out, and got the carburetor off. So let's just see if a little bit of starting fluid down the intake by itself without a carburetor will get this bad boy to fire. Nope. Come on, old girl, I know you can do it. All right, I've been troubleshooting this for a little bit, and the only thing I haven't tried yet is spinning the distributor 180 degrees because it just could be wrong. So, gonna make a little mark right here. That was on the other side. Let's spin it, see if that works. I'm gonna be going through all kinds of mixed emotions if this works. I'll be happy that it worked, but I'll be mad at myself that I did that. All right. There we go. One more time, round the horn. Just for kicks and giggles. Throw our carburetor back on here. All right, this one for all the marbles. Up, up. Ho, 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 ho. That must have been it. That must have been the issue. We're so close. Come on. You know you want to. Man, so close. So we had a little incident, as you can see. Woo! Yep, that's not good. So what you just saw is the aftermath of what is known as a crankcase vapor ignition. And it happens very commonly when you're doing what we're doing today. You're dumping a bunch of fuel down the carburetor and the intake, trying to get something to fire. You're playing with the timing. Basically what happens is you get more fuel than oil in your crankcase. And I was just kind of playing around, trying to try everything, just double checking, make sure that the distributor was right. And I just got caught up in the moment and I pulled the distributor just to make sure it wasn't 180 degrees out again. And I totally forgot that I still had the battery hooked up, and that thing arced and it blew a big old fireball right out of the crankcase. So you can actually probably see if I pull this vent tube. I was smoking pretty good out of the vent tube a little earlier, but and as you saw, bunch of smoke inside the valve cover and everything. So now what we have to do is change the oil, because there is more fuel than oil in the pan. And so I'm going to turn into that, but I think that's as far as I'm going to get today, because I'm like still shaking, because when that thing ignited, it scared the crap out of me and it made a big old pop and my ears are ringing a little bit. So let's run down the checklist real quick. We've checked the timing, put a new starter solenoid in, played around with the fuel delivery. Seems to be getting spark. It's definitely getting air and fuel, because it about blew my garage up. What's crazy is that these 6-bangers are really simple engines, and it should not be this difficult to get this thing running. So if you guys have any ideas of how to get this thing going again, be sure to write it down in the comments. And we do have a deadline for this car now. I would like for this 55 Chevy to be running and driving in time for the Tri-5 Nationals in Bowling Green, Kentucky on August 7th, 2025. And it's just over 100 days from now, so will we make it? Who knows? And I say we because you guys are just as much a part of this as I am, so be sure to like and subscribe to see if we make it. At this point, really don't know.